Hey everybody, this is Elle Nagy from the Unapologetic Woman Empowerment Dynasty, and you're listening to the Unapologetic Woman Podcast, the show for women who choose to live their legacies, unleashed, unlimited, and unapologetic. If this is a space you're curious about, visit unapologetic-woman.com. Today we're talking about navigating choice and diversity with Dr. Lisa Thompson. Lisa is a best-selling author, galactic ambassador and channeler, and intuitive transformational coach specializing in quantum cosmic energy healing, human design, past or parallel life regression, and sound healing. She is an evolutionary biologist who understands the embodiment of the ancient DNA within humans and guides them in the intergalactic realm. Lisa has a weekly podcast called Connection to the Cosmos with Dr. Lisa Thompson, where she has out-of-the-world conversations with extraordinary people. She has created 9 oracle decks. She loves teaching online classes and leads retreats in her home state of Hawaii. She also leads night sky watch UFO tours on the Big Island of Hawaii. For more information, visit drlisathompson.com. Thanks for joining us. This is Lisa. I have to laugh as well because we were talking this morning about how no matter how old we are and how liberated people say they are, they still want to tell us what we can say, how we must say it, how we must show up under the guise of, and then we will all get to have a fabulous conversation with you, instead of just going, these are my rules that you have to play with in order for us to be friends. So can't do that anymore. So, Lisa, welcome to the podcast. And so we have two kinds of listeners right now. The ones who are purely listening to the audio of this and who will have no idea what I'm talking about. And there will be the other ones who are having a visual experience of us and who, like me, probably are going, what's with the blue man in the background? So, Lisa, welcome to the Unapologetic Woman Podcast. And please share with the people, why is there a beautiful blue alien in the background?
Well, I'm so excited to be here. And so the blue alien in the background's name is Uluru, and it is a representation of my Arcturians, and specifically me as my Arcturian self. And so I lead night sky watch UFO tours on the Big Island of Hawaii. And when we first meet our tour guests so they can find us, we stand out with our big inflatable ETs, and then they get to do a photo shoot with them. And then we get into like the real education piece.
So let us use that to set the tone of ridiculously fabulousness, weirdness for this conversation today.
Yeah.
Because everybody is now either going, oh my God, she got an even bigger nut to the show, or, oh wow, this is really fabulous. Something really interesting and curious and deliciousness is about to unfold in this conversation. So I love that. I freaking love being alive at the moment. I don't know about you, but every single day I wake up and I just am so appreciative of the diversity of life on this planet right now. The diversity of our thinking, the diversity of our experiences.
Yes.
And relearning how to appreciate diversity instead of fearing it.
Yes, that's actually one of the things I love speaking to, that I love teaching about. And I'm a former zoologist, marine biologist. And so I used to teach biodiversity, and I used to teach about the beauty of structure and form and how things are adapting to their environment, and everything has a purpose. Everything is beautiful in its own special way. And so, yeah, when I look around at Earth, I mean, we have so much beauty in every plant, animal, person, no matter like what they look like, what their belief system is. It's a super rich environment. And for me, I have come to embrace that diversity and humanity more as I've gotten older. You know, I'm 50 years old now, and in my early life, I did have a lot more judgment. I was a little more polarized. But as I have stepped into more wisdom and even interacting with my extraterrestrials, really they're messages that come through me. And again, like you said, some people might think I'm nutters, but their messages really, we need to get over the judgment of ourselves and the judgment of, like, first and foremost, us, our individual selves. And when we can stop that judgment, then we can love other people and embrace them and accept their differences. And that's actually when we're going to shift into greater consciousness. Some call it fifth dimensional reality, but it's really just a higher state of living.
Which I'm so looking forward to. I was on my soiree call this morning and we were talking about current events, and even amongst my friends, for the most part, I feel like an alien in the human race. And when I say that, it's because I don't experience life and humanity the way that we are conditioned to experience life and humanity. And when you experience it so differently, no matter how much I attempt to explain where I'm coming from, the paradigm of conditioning is so strong in people that they just can't, they're not willing to even facilitate the possibility of seeing life in people different from how we are being told, and find that fascinating. And so, yes, for the most part, I feel more like your alien friend in the corner in a human body. And I know that this is going to sound even more bizarre than normal to people, but I'm sure that some of our listeners can probably relate as well, in that we observe life differently, and seeing what can be instead of what is, I think, is a rare gift to be given at this time. Is it a gift given, or is it a choice made by us individually?
I believe it's a choice made,
Yes.
because at the quantum level, all timelines exist simultaneously. All choices are there. All realities are real. So which one do you want to live in?
That's the thing, right? Which one do you want to live in? That's such a powerful thing. And what I am finding is that when I choose to live in the dimension of, I truly believe in unconditional love, I truly believe there's one team humanity, and I truly believe that we are magnificence in human form. When you choose to live into that state, it's also a conscious choice to disassociate with everything that we are taught to believe about us, and about how broken we are, and how other people can teach us how to be better and all of those things. And it's taken me a long time, like you, I'm 50, to get to a space of going, oh, I'm good with who I am, and I love who I am, and therefore I can truly love everybody else. I don't have to accept all their behaviors. I still judge. I judge behaviors. I don't judge people. I judge behaviors in terms of, is this the behavior that I want to emulate? Is this a behavior that I want to perpetuate in my life, in the life that I am creating, or not? I don't think that we should stop judging from that perspective, right? But so let's round back then and ask you. So, Lisa, what does it mean for you to be an unapologetic woman? Because that is the name of this space. And for somebody to come onto a call with an alien in the background, well, that's pretty damn unapologetic in my book.
It really is. And so, okay, I was raised to be an unapologetic woman. I was raised by a single mother who, back when I was 2 years old, she left my dad, and she, it was hard because being a single mom is hard, but she was a career woman and she made her life happen. She moved me from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma in the United States to Washington State when I was 13 to attend a spiritual school of enlightenment. So I had a really good role model in like, I'm going to live my life on my terms. I'm not going to be held back by men thinking, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, there was that major discrepancy between men and women in the career workforce, corporate world. And that's the world my mom was in. But then, when I was a teenager, she started a real estate company. She owned a real estate company. So then I had that, like, okay, a woman can be an entrepreneur. And she always told me growing up, you are not limited. You can be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. And because that was the messaging that I received, I believed it. And so I have lived my life on those terms. I've followed every one of my passions that I have had. So I got the PhD in zoology, marine biology, but then I had completed that career. Like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know that. What's next? So then I followed my passion for art and design. And then I had a highly successful company doing interior design and home staging. And then it's like, okay, now I need to get back on my spiritual roots. I'm going to start a spiritual company. Oh, now I want to move to Hawaii. And so whatever comes up that is like, okay, this is my new passion. This is the direction I need to follow. Even if there's fear that gets in the way, sometimes I'm really good at jumping through the fear because I know it's going to turn out really amazing on the other side of that. And
I love how you say jumping through the fear, because I remember when I did my first Ironman and I was terrified of water. As I came out of the water, there was a voice in my head that said, behind your fear is your freedom. And that took me on a whole journey with regards to just how misunderstood fear is, how misinterpreted fear is, and the function even of fear. And really what's holding people back is not fear, but the fear of fear itself.
Yeah.
And how you jumped through the fear. You didn't feel the fear and did it anyway. You didn't reject the fear. You didn't overpower the fear. You went through the fear as a natural part of human emotion, and accepting that instead of making fear this big bad thing that robs us of our dreams, which blows my mind.
And in fact, when people are willing and able to take those steps into the unknown, because most people are afraid of the unknown. That's their biggest fear, besides maybe death and taxes. But but really people are afraid. They get very comfortable in their reality. And even if it's not a beautiful, like happy life, they're comfortable. They know what they're going to get. And so it really takes something extra to get people out of their stuckness. Mm-hmm. But when they do that, like when they start following the breadcrumbs of their passions, a whole new world opens up for them. And that's what it has done for me all of these years. And now I have enough evidence that if something new comes up, I can just trust. Truth.
Because I believe at our core, we are creators. I believe at our core, we are here creating through life experience. We're creating the evolution of consciousness, but we also get to create on this beautiful physical plane where we are living. And so when we start buying into the stories of their safety in the known, or there's, it's uncomfortable to try new things, or it's uncomfortable to look messy when you don't know what you're doing, but you're doing it anyway. When we get out of all of that and we just grow down again into that childlike wonder, creativity, experimentation, and playfulness, that for me is when life becomes so rich, and when we give ourselves permission to be the conscious creators that we are here to be. And instead of just doing it reactively or passively, we do it proactively. We do it co-creatively with the universal source energy and every other life form that there is, both on this planet and beyond this planet. And we get to tap into, oh my God, I only have so many years of this physical body. How much juice can I get out of this baby before I check out and, return back to pure positive energy again? Don't you feel like when we start making that decision, and I love how your career transitioned as well, because I was the same. I was in the restaurant industry, in the recruitment industry. I sold canopies and tow bars. I was a chef. I was a shrink. I was all of these things. And I just kept on going, what's next? What's next? And even today, constantly evolving my business, constantly evolving my own creativity. Then I'm just coaching. Then I'm an author. Now I'm a podcast person and creating a magazine and all of these things. And people can look at me and go, but you're supposed to stick to your lane and you're supposed to. And I'm like, but there's so much creative potential. Do you think that we've just lost the appreciation of the mess? That's we just want to be so freaking neat and tidy with a little bow on top that we're missing out on all the juiciness?
Well, I think, like you said, it's conditioning of society, right? And so in our day and age, we were raised in different countries, but it probably was very similar where, you're raised, you're supposed to go to school, get a good education, get the career, stick with the career, get the retirement, and then you die. You might travel a little and then you die. But I was not born to live inside the box. And so I love the juiciness of life. I love travel. I love exploring new cultures, new food, new everything. Give me new stuff all the time, because that's what truly expands me. It helps me grow and evolve. And like you said, we're here just a very limited amount of time, at least in this human costume. So people come back often to Earth, to relive their karmic cycles. But in this particular costume, let's play out full, right?
Yeah. Oh, let's play out full. And for me, that is allowing myself to play a little dirty as well. Personally, I find that by the time that it becomes elegant, when I have practiced something so often that it's now elegant, I'm kind of bored with it and going, how else can I look like an idiot? Because for the most part, when you do something new, you look like the fool. You look like a complete numbnut with like 10 thumbs and nothing wants to work. But that for me is the fun part, is the tinker, is the what happens if, and can I do this? How will I do this? What do I look like? No, I never ask, what do I look like doing this? Because it's probably always you look like an idiot.
Well, and what I love about that, and for me, is I had to come to the place where what other people think of me is none of my business. And so I'm on my own personal journey here. And part of that does include other people, bringing them along in transformation. But, I'm only going to attract who is frequency specific to me. And I'm okay with that. If I keep my frequency in a beautiful high place, then that's what I attract into my world. And let's go play.
Frequency specific. We have more power than I believe we have ever been told we have. Mm-hmm. And one of our greatest powers is the power of choice.
Yes.
And with that power comes great responsibility, because you are responsible for your own frequency.
Yes.
And most people don't want to hear this. Yeah, but you don't understand. No, I really do. But we are responsible for our own frequency. Now, one of the things that I've really found helpful in my frequency is to become aware of my emotions, first of all, from one moment to the next. How am I feeling right now? And then go, oh, what is it that I'm thinking about right now that's creating this feeling, especially when I'm feeling like a little prissy princess who just want to throw my toys right now. And I allow myself to have that as well. By the way, I just want to let the everybody know, I am not here saying that I have all my shit together and that I have like this, oh my God, I'm so regal all the times. Oh, honey, I throw a tantrum with the best of them, the absolute best of them. I give myself permission to do that as well. But to become aware of the thoughts and then realize it's just a freaking story and I can change my story if it's not feeling good. Is there something that's been particularly helpful for you in becoming aware even of this thing called frequency and how you use it to bring yourself back to the high frequency that you want to attract?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I've been learning about frequency since I was 13. Now I've been playing with this over the last many years because there are times where I have completely reverted back to not remembering, not knowing, or at least not acting as if I know anything. And I have two ex-husbands where when I look at those relationships, I was the common denominator. I was the one that was resonating in a frequency that attracted toxic, controlling, abusive kind of behavior. And when I realized finally, like, oh, it's me, then I started doing deep dive healing in myself. I started like, okay, what are my spiritual practices? Let me return back to those. Let me clear out any kind of trauma, any patterns, ancestral, family stories, like you're saying, and rewriting them essentially. And so all the modalities that I do have actually been things that I have first and foremost wanted to do for myself. And then when I do that, I can do that for my clients. But recently, mostly I'm in flow, but there were a few days ago where I woke up in this really funky mood and I had no idea what was creating it. And my day was just kind of off and my conversation with my husband was completely off with it. But I was aware of it and I informed him, like, I don't know what's going on today. So just, be gentle. Because so then, I was just being very conscious but I was allowing myself to be in that also. I wasn't judging myself. I wasn't trying to fix it. I was just kind of curious about it, like what is going on. But then the next day I woke up and the energy had cleared and it was like, okay, I feel better. And so there are moments where sometimes I can change it in the moment, like, ooh, what's going on? Let me do something to flip my mindset. But in this case, the other day, I was okay. We're human, so we're always going to have those emotions. And I was okay to sit in that kind of ickiness for a moment, realizing like, okay, it's not going to be here permanently. It's just a moment. And then I can get out of it.
Man, I feel like there's so much judgment against our human experience for the most part. And like you, I have two beautiful ex-husbands as testament to my very perfectly imperfect human life experience. And as we recognize that, hey, I am the common denominator, I am the one that's available to this, I know that there's a lot of judgment that can come up in ourselves of, oh my God, does that mean I'm a bad woman? I'm a bad person, that I deserve this behavior? And I just want to nip that in the butt for our listeners, because personal responsibility can feel like a fanny wax, especially in the beginning. But it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me, when we realize, no. there's just a thought pattern that's playing out for me, either through conditioning or observation or something that I've been told. And again, taking full responsibility for ourselves. We don't have to believe what other people tell us, even though we tend to. But when we start becoming aware of that and then go, oh, I want to change because I want to change this for me, it's so freeing, so freeing. And I don't know about you, but when I came to this understanding, I could stop hating my then husband. I could stop being angry at him all of the time. I could stop resenting him for everything that was happening in the relationship and kind of go, oh, okay, but why am I available for this? Like, why am I attracting this?
Right. And yeah, so I got to a place where, it's a process, but I got to a place where I not necessarily verbally thanked them, but energetically, I thanked them for that experience, because I know that was a soul contract agreement for them to play that part for me so that I could get back to my self-love and worthiness. So, yeah.
I only left once I could love him. I only left once I could love him. And I was in a marriage for 20 years. And people would keep going, why are you still in this? And I didn't know, but I knew I wasn't ready to go because of how I wanted to live. And like you, I remember lying on the grass and sobbing and just going, universe, I can't do this anymore. Like, you have to start telling me what's going on. And the message was, well, until you love yourself, you cannot love another and you cannot receive love from another.
Yeah.
And that was brutal. I was like, what do you mean? I love my kids. And it took me down the rabbit hole of understanding that love is a frequency. And if we are not vibrating on that frequency from within, then we think we love, but we conditionally love.
We do. We conditionally love, and we can't receive love.
No. And so it's amazing for me when we are said it's okay that we can't love ourselves, but you must love me. You must love me as I am, even though I can't love myself. Like, well, that's not love. When I started understanding this whole self-love piece, I have to say that I could not find any guidance with regards to true self-love. It was a journey that I had to take. It feels like a soul initiation back to self that I had to go on. And I discovered that everything that we are going through in humanity at the moment is really created for us to return to self, because through tribal consciousness, we have self abandoned for the sake of the tribe. And now the tribe is abandoning us so that we can return to self. And the way I see it is that once we have returned to self, we can then interdependently co-create consciously again as one, instead of one against the other. Taking a moment to call all extraordinary trailblazers, visionaries, and possibilitarians. Get ready to unleash your inner brilliance with a touch of elegance and a dash of sass. It's time to dive into the art of self-leadership, a journey designed exclusively for phenomenal female founders, artists, and leaders like you. Hey gorgeous, yes, you with the unstoppable spirit and the audacious dreams. You're not here to play small, you're here to craft a legacy that turns heads and sparks revolutions. Through the art of self-leadership, we're about to recalibrate your entire existence. Say goodbye to those old belief patterns that whispered about self-sacrifice. Let's dial into your soul's deepest truth, your self-actualization, and do it with the grace of a ballroom dance and the confidence of a catwalk strut. Your journey, my dear, is a masterpiece painted in the hues of your vibrancy, catered to your desires, and fueled by your fiery potential. We're not just offering a consultation, we're inviting you to a tete-a-tete with your next monumental triumph. Are you ready to RSVP for this journey? The link is flashing like a neon sign in the podcast episode description, or you can saunter over to our elegant domain, unapologetic-woman.com. Darling, your unapologetic self-leadership journey begins now. Toast to your legacy with sophistication, embrace your inner sass with style, and stride forward with a flair that's unmistakably you. The art of self-leadership is your backstage pass to a life that's glamorous, impactful, and unapologetically authentic. Ladies, let's make them stare. Your greatness is about to hit the spotlight. How are you experiencing that in this time-space reality?
Beautifully said. So, it's interesting because I can see that from like a higher perspective of what you just said in terms of, the tribalness and that really creating the separateness, but we really are one. And that's actually one of the games that we play here in this third dimensional reality that it's polarized. And so when we finally realize, okay, it's a game and we are whole and we are connected, that is when we come back together. And what's really interesting personally, though, is that like everything in my astrology, in my human design chart, in my scientific hand analysis, my numerology, you name all the modalities that describe who I am in this life, I am here to really understand my individuality but also then my connection. And so I'm here some people might call it selfish because I do follow those passions. I'm more conscious of like, well, this is what I want to do. And it's not that it's, I'm not taking into my third husband's ideas or my children, but it really I know that if I am in congruence with myself, that can help them as well. And then we're all, everyone's on their own individual journey, but I now feel like I actually am part of this greater collective world where I felt very separate in my younger life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was out bodyboarding one day and I was sitting on the beach afterwards and I was just looking at the ocean and I thought, there's the drop in the ocean and the ocean in the drop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Like we are a drop in the ocean, but we contain the ocean. Like when you start really understanding that, then you start understanding we're not separate and we are individual. We're not separate and we are individual. And so we get to appreciate the individual and love the connection.
Yeah, the analogy, I love the ocean analogy, being, marine biologist, but I also, the analogy that I also love is a disco ball, a mirrored disco ball, where if we think of the disco ball, that is us as whole, right? We are all one, we're all connected coming from source. But as you're shining the lights on these different mirror pieces, each mirror is refracting off light in different places. And so those pinpoints of light is us experiencing individuality. But if you follow that back to the disco ball, we're all connected. And those of us who have our little mirrors kind of closer to each other, we have a similar perspective of life. But those on the opposite side of the disco ball, they have a different perspective. And they're all part of the same one whole thing.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God. And when you can honor and respect that, on the other side of the ball is a different perspective. Here's the beautiful thing. And I think that this is where a lot of people get tripped up. They think that because we have different perspectives, that one has to negate or give up their perspective in order for them to celebrate, agree with the other perspective, instead of going, no. we get to all have different perspectives. We don't have to all agree on how we experience the world, how we see things. We can listen to somebody else's experience and go, that's fascinating how you get to experience that. I honor that for you, and it's not how I experience it. And I don't need to change your mind to see the world the way that I see it. And you don't have to change my mind to see it the way that you see it. I feel like that is being lost in humanity, and they want us to conform to a perspective so we can all be friends, which really robs us of what is available to us in true friendship.
Right. Well, and as I understand, what we are shifting to in that fifth dimensional reality is that place. What you exactly just said is where there might still be differences among us, but there's no longer that judgment or needing to convince and make someone wrong about it. The polarization starts to go away, where we can just accept people for who and what they are. And we are coming from a place of understanding, compassion, empathy, and love.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like a lot of the times, though, people get tripped up on the empathy and compassion piece as well. My observation is that when people start talking about empathy and compassion, a lot of the time is they're asking us to lower our frequency to make suffering almost okay. To say that I have compassion and therefore I'll suffer with you. Instead of, my understanding of compassion is having empathy and being committed to raising the frequency, to holding my high frequency and allowing others the opportunity to calibrate to a higher frequency in that moment,
yes.
which then people see as being insensitive, inconsiderate, you just don't understand. How do you experience empathy and compassion?
Oh, same as you. So the more that I am holding myself in a higher vibration, a higher frequency, the more that I can actually bring people into that and be a role model or a mentor. Or it's not that I'm better than, it's just at all. I'm definitely not. It's just I have learned how to raise that frequency and to maintain it a little more than I used to when I was younger. And so um and I know also that I've gone through all of the really tough things in my life, because I have not had an easy life at all. I've not had easy situations. And so I know that I went through those so that I could understand people's situations more. And again, not get down in the muck with them and be like, oh, poor you. But it's like, okay, let's get you unstuck, or be that light of, okay, come on, you don't have to stay there in your suffering.
Yeah. Oh, I find it mind-blowing how acceptable suffering has become and almost expected, when suffering is a state of mind. Yes, there's a
Yes.
lot of pain in life. That's part of the life journey, as is pleasure, by the way. I don't believe in the no pain for gain. I think that we can gain a lot through pleasure. And in fact, I believe we can gain exponentially through pleasure, even more so than through pain. But suffering is a state of mind. Suffering is a story. And it's as though we are almost not relatable if we are not wanting to suffer at this time, if we are not wanting to buy into the stories that is perpetuating suffering within people.
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting because at least what's going on currently in my realm of the world is, we had a horrible fire over on Maui and Lahaina, which burned the entire town down. And there's a lot of controversy over, number one, how the fire started, how it was allowed to continue, the management of it. There's a lot of different theories out there. And people are wanting to drag me into that and be like part of the fight, or the like really get in there. And it's not my role at this point. I can see it. I can, again, have compassion and love for what the people of Maui are going through. And I can give my support in other ways, but I don't need to be part of the polarization and the division that it's causing, because it really is causing a lot of division, just like other things all around the world. Right?
Witch hunts going on.
Yes.
And with love here. The witch hunt never has a good outcome. If we have not learned that over the generations of humanity, it is every witch hunt, generations to come, look back upon and go, what were they thinking? And yet that seems to be speeding up at the moment. I'm finding everything is speeding up at the moment, and the witch hunts are coming harder and faster on just about every single topic that you can think of right now, which is diverting people's attention from focusing on prosperity, from focusing on harmony, from focusing on love, from focusing on conscious creation. Our attention can only be held by one side of the equation. And I'm finding and questioning more and more, why is something being brought to light? Why do they want my attention here? And is that the intention? Is that the energy I want to grow with my focus? Because I think as well that when we start understanding the power of our focus, and that we are energetically fueling whatever we are focusing on, wow, you need to do some serious mind discipline to not fuel the fires.
Exactly. Because, yeah, wherever your attention goes, that is what you personally are experiencing and creating in your life. And so for me, I have had to really shut out the media. I'm in my happy little bubble. Now that might be a little Pollyanna, but I'm okay with that, because I am really like, what is my focus here in the world? And it's not to get into the politics, the religion, the conspiracy theories, any of it. My job is like, what am I doing here? What am I going to do for humanity and to bring Earth along? And I'm just one of many of those, like you, that are here to do that. And so if we can be an inspiration to people listening or watching in terms of like, okay, stop focusing on all the fear-based, the negative, all of the stuff that's dividing everyone. Focus on what you actually want to create in your life and move forward with that.
I found that one of the most interesting things of being an unapologetic woman is being a mother. And yes.
Yeah.
How have you experienced motherhood as an unapologetic woman? This is not a question I've ever asked.
Okay, well, this is an interesting one, because so being raised by a single career mother had its beauty, and that I had this role model mentor to be strong, independent woman, but she was not nurturing at all. And I was very lonely as a child. And so when I became an adult, I was like, okay, I'm either going to have 0 or 2 children, because number one, I was highly career oriented. And so I didn't want to be like my mom, where my sole focus was career. I ignored my children. I didn't want to be that. I wanted to, if I was going to have children, I wanted to be the nurturing, loving mom that I didn't have. And so throughout my 20s, I was not going to have children. And finally, around like age 32, I got this message and it wasn't my biological clock exactly, but it was like a message like, you're ready to have a baby. And I was like, oh, really? But I knew, again, it was going to be 0 or 2, because I didn't want to have an only child like I was, because again, going through that experience. And so when I had my daughter, I knew exactly when she was conceived. It was like very divine in terms of the timing. Her father and I we hardly ever had sex, which, that was the really toxic relationship. So I'm creating this being, I know what I'm doing. And she would come to me when I was pregnant with her. And so like we had this instant bond, like from conception onward. And she has been my little precious soul. Now, when then I left her dad when she was 7 months old. I kicked him out of the house because he, again, was just so abusive. And then I met my next one and we got pregnant a little too fast. But again, I kind of knew into like what I was doing. And so then I have my son, and I still wanted to be a career woman. My son's dad, he wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, I am not built that way, but I can do both. Like, I don't have to have one or the other. I can do both. Now, I did my best. They're teenagers now. I did my best of being the nurturing, loving mother and being a role model, especially for my daughter. Like, hey, you can be a strong, independent woman and still be a mother. And I think being an entrepreneur allowed me to be more present with the kids. Like, I could go to their school events. I could go to, the talent show or their sports or, whatever things they had, because I had a lot more flexibility in my schedule rather than if I worked a 9-to-5 job. Now, their dads have judged me in terms of being a mother. They think I was not enough of a mother because I should have been the kind of stay-at-home mom that they were expecting me to be. And I'm like, well, you know who I am. That's not how I'm built. And so, I've done the best I can do in trying to balance both of those worlds. But motherhood, man, that's the hardest job I've ever. Whew.
The hardest. If that doesn't grow you up, then I don't know what does. I think, and especially as a woman who takes a stand for the and, I think that there's a lot of things that are not being spoken about, and it's a pity that we are out of time, but that is a conversation that really does need to be had, of what does that even look like when we take a stand for the and. Because I think on the one hand, there is this picture that's being painted for a lot of women that, yeah, stay at home, raise your kids, have a business, and you work for an hour or two, and then you are off with the kids all the time. And that's not the case. I think that as a female entrepreneur, especially one who chooses to work from home, there's a lot of late hours. There's a lot of exhausting days. There's a lot of, emotional resilience, because let's be honest, ladies, business doesn't always run so smooth, and you have to hold that in on the one hand and still be very present with your children and kind of not put that on them, but then also not faking it with the kids. So that's really a conversation that needs to be had one day. Interesting that has popped up. So, but looking at the time, unfortunately, Lisa, what do you take an unapologetic stance for in this world?
Oh, I am here to fully be my authentic self, no matter what. So even if that means being, a nutter, believing in extraterrestrials and channeling them, having conversations, that I am unapologetic for who I came to be and all of the experiences that I've chosen to have in my life that have grown me and evolved me.
If there's one nugget you want to leave everybody with today, what would that nugget be?
Follow your passion, jump through your fear, and choose what timeline you want to be a part of.
Love that. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. To all our listeners, thank you for joining us today. If you have the ability to go onto YouTube and actually watch the conversation to see the alien, I highly recommend you do that because it's about taking in the unapologetic woman in front of me that has the flowers and the alien all just so naturally part of your natural setting, and being unapologetic in that, which I find so refreshing. And I agree with you. If there's one thing that I want to leave everybody with, it's you get to choose the timeline that you want to focus on. You get to choose the life that you want to experience, and in the experience thereof, create. Because it's all an illusion, really. It's all a playground for us. And the faster we get to have a sense of humor about it, and a sense of humor about ourselves, the more fun we get to have. And here's what I want people to really take away. The more we create better, instead of recreating old patterns, old problems, old pain, it's time for us to eradicate suffering, because suffering is just a story. So Lisa, thank you so much. Really appreciate you for this conversation today. And to all our listeners, until next week, remember we get to live our legacies unleashed, unlimited, and unapologetic. Have an amazing day wherever you are in the world. Cheers. Thank you for joining us on another empowering episode of the Unapologetic Woman Podcast. We hope you found this conversation as inspiring as we did. Remember, embracing your strength and authenticity is a journey worth taking, and we're thrilled to be part of it with you. If you've enjoyed our discussions and found value in the stories we share, we have a favor to ask. Your support means the world to us, and there are a couple of simple ways you can make a big difference. First, take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your words have the power to reach other incredible women like you who are seeking upliftment and insight. By leaving a review, you're helping us create a ripple effect of empowerment that extends far beyond these virtual airwaves. Second, think of the remarkable women in your life who would resonate with our message. Share this podcast with them, whether it's a friend, a family member, a colleague, or even a fellow pioneer you've connected with. Together, we can create a community of unapologetic women who uplift, support, and inspire each other. Stay connected with us on social media at The Unapologetic Woman for updates, behind-the-scenes moments, and engaging conversations. We love hearing from you and building this vibrant community together. As we wrap up this episode, remember that your journey matters, your voice is vital, and your impact is immeasurable. Let's continue rewriting the narrative and embracing our unapologetic selves, one episode at a time. Thank you for being part of the Unapologetic Woman movement. Until next time, stay true to yourself, stay unapologetic, and keep dancing to your own tune.